Hey everybody, this is John Tai from Hatch2O. I am back again, and today I have two very special guests with me, my co-founders, Antonio Borja and Ray Ochoa Jr. I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Antonio Borja. I'm the director for the School of Industrial Design at Academy of Art University. I'm also co-founder and CEO of FLO AI, which we're here to speak to you guys about and hopefully share some of the insights that we've had over these last few months here. And then with me as well is fellow co-founder Ray Ochoa Jr. Ray.
I'm Ray. I'm a programmer and designer, IT professional. I'm very passionate about solving problems through technology for all the people that I assist every single day. Together, we're building FLO so that we can bring some of those efficiencies, not just to designers, but as many people who are interested in art and design as well.
And yeah, thanks so much for joining, guys. And if you guys are wondering why Ray is on screen and Antonio is here, Ray just had a baby, so congratulations, Ray. We gave him the grace of not having to fly away over here. So, but yeah, and for those of you who are wondering, Mike could not join us today. He is feeling sick, and we just didn't want to catch the bug. It's flu season right now, so that's the only reason why he's not here today. Yeah, I'm very excited to have these two here with me today, especially like Antonio here in person with me. Antonio and I go way back. He was actually my university instructor in design school, has been a mentor throughout my career, and it's just been a blessing that we're now able to be co-founders together on this endeavor, FLO. And yeah, just want to talk a little bit about the background of FLO. Maybe, the audience has been following our founder series, and this one's kind of a unique, special founder series because it involves not only like a very good friend of mine, but also like we're kind of the co-founders of it too. So I think we can really give some insights into the background and behind the scenes. But yeah, with that, maybe you guys, Tony and Ray, you guys can give the audience a little bit about your background in design and just how you guys ended up meeting us and building this thing together.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm an industrial designer that focuses primarily on transportation design. I went to Academy of Art University myself at a time where, design wasn't necessarily at the forefront of a lot of people's, interests and careers. But for me, I've always been passionate about looking at the world around me and thinking of how I can improve it personally. And my focus obviously was in transportation first because I love vehicles. But, I was fortunate enough to graduate from the academy, be able to work in a professional studio in Detroit at General Motors. I felt really fortunate that I was able to make an impact, on some of the most iconic brands. Now, again, I've always had a passion for education as well. And that's one thing that even during my professional time at General Motors, I would volunteer running workshops, helping students out at the local universities there. And this is something that I felt like as someone who, got to live out their dream job, I wanted to give back and help others. And so education has always really been at the forefront of my interest. And so for me, I was fortunate enough to be able to come back, teach at my alma mater, and ultimately head the department there as well, where I, had the pleasure of meeting both actually John as well and Ray. So for me, again, I'm an educator, I'm an industrial designer, but most of all, I'm really passionate about design and the design process and how we use that process to improve people's lives. So that's my main focus.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I still remember that day I went into Transportation Design 1 and Antonio was the teacher and he was helping us with all of our sketches. And I realized I was like, man, I can't draw cars the way these guys can. So that's why I switched to product design instead. But still, nonetheless, yeah, great influence. And to his point about education, he's really passionate about it. So, and I can attest to that. Ray, do you want to maybe jump in and give a little bit about your background, how you kind of met Antonio and us and how we all got started?
Yeah. So during the beginning of the pandemic, I made the bold choice to look at Academy of Art University when everything was going digital. I had wanted to go into automotive design forever, but when everything started going digital, because that was the only way to do it, I was like, I wonder if maybe there's a chance, and so it just happened that Academy of Art was very accommodating towards a lot of students, and in many ways that I didn't know, even before. It was just a really great chance to explore the creative aspect of myself to like the fullest extent. And to Antonio's point about education, I mean, I've always been a lifetime learner. I mean, I switch topics on like new things I'm learning every year. And so I feel that just being around that environment has been really elevating, not just for my own ideas, but to like grow ideas with others. And so actually kind of ties into how we ended up meeting John and Mike as well, right? Because during the time that the AI revolution started to like really pick up some speed. You know, I was trying out all kinds of workflows because of my IT background. Now, you know, within my IT background, you know, I worked for a hospital company, right? So a lot of the stuff that I do is very high stakes. Like I've been in a active surgery, like fixing IT problems, like they need it now, they need it like 5 seconds ago, they need it, you know, 10 minutes ago, an hour ago. And so everything's like super high paced. So workflow is everything. So, you know, going from that to now working in an office full of executives and presidents, vice presidents of, you know, this very large corporation, even more so, right? So that idea of getting into the state of flow and getting from one point to the other and getting out has been, you know, super core to everything that I do. But now with design, I mean, like incorporating the technology aspect of it, I mean, if you really start to blend these two, I mean, this is like the nirvana, right? Like you want to be in that state of flow for as long as possible, because that's where the creativity just sprouts the best ideas. Yeah, we started building some tools ourselves, and so as we were going through all that, Antonio remembered, hey, you know, I have a former student who, you know, has done great things. Think you guys both have, you know, a wide diversity of skills. And maybe if you guys get together, you know, we can make something really great happen. And so here we are almost a year later, and I think we've built together some really great things, and excited to talk about it more.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember that time too. We were sitting down eating sushi and he was like, I know this guy, he's like a wizard. His name's Ray. So I guess just to give the audience like a little background of how, you know, they kind of get some inferences of how we came together, but just to give them very specifics, just to jump into like Hatch Duo and how that fell into it. So Mike and I run a product design agency, if you guys haven't followed along any of the other episodes before. And, you know, we do industrial design, and throughout this, you know, past 2 years, AI has been pretty prevalent, and we wanted to jump into that scene. And so we built Mood, which is a mood board generator that you know uses an AI search function and synthesizes and sorts images. And you know, when we started to build that, I was texting you when I was like, hey man, like we're working on this thing, want to know what you think. You know, we sat down for lunch. I think it's got to be like a year ago, right?
Yeah, around a year
a year and a half ago. And I was showing Antonio this thing on my phone, and he's like, man, you know what's funny? Like, I have something to show you too. And then he busted out this thing, which you guys probably know, if you go to our website, it looks like Node, but we're showing to each other, and we're like, man, you know, here's a crazy idea. Why don't we merge and create like a bigger company, like basically a bigger company, and combine these two things? And I don't know if you want to like dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I saw, it was an opportunity. It's like, you know, the mood boarding app is something that's a little bit more upstream in the design process. And I was like, wow, like you really you empowered designers to use AI in a way that they're still in control of it, right? Because at that point it wasn't, you know, where you're generating new images. And some of the problems with the generative AI stuff sometimes is that it will generate new things each time. So you feel like you're losing a little bit of control. Like, yes, there's prompt tricks that we can do to kind of keep it in alignment, but at the end of the day, it's still not going to be consistently the same answer. It's not like math, right? Where you have, you know, an equation and there's an answer for it.
Yep.
This will generate a slightly different variation each time. But the way you guys use the technology to create a tool that allows designers to then be able to quickly streamline a part of the process that, like, we all love sitting down and creating these mood boards and making sure that they're on target for the brand, for the user, but it is time consuming. And the reality is all industrial designers want to jump in the sandbox. And the sandbox for us is sketching and creating sketch models that we can actually, you know, evaluate physically, and also ideas that we can share with each other and improve on. So that's something that, interesting enough, when you met with us, it was like, all right, cool. You have more the upstream stuff.
Yep.
And Ray and I at that point have been working, that's something that's a little bit more downstream, where it's like, okay, I have these different influences.
Yeah.
And I had this idea that I want to generate. How can I get those to work together and still keep my design intent?
Right.
And that was the main thing, because even to this day, there's a lot of different tools out there that will give you some really high fidelity, you know, pieces for you to present, but they're not necessarily keeping the intent of the designer.
Right.
And so that's where we were like, you know, we need to create a tool there that allows the designers to keep their design intent and to be able to do it where it meets the brand it meets the actual target market, and it also makes a strong business case. And so for us, it was more of like, okay, let's grab the mood board. The mood board is the ingredients, right? That's kind of like our pantry. And then, we see Node as kind of being like the ultimate kitchen where you can bring in all these ingredients together and cook up the best ideas.
Yep.
Just like you guys had Awesome, we're thinking, okay, with Flow,
Yep.
you're able to stay in that state of creative flow by starting your project with Mood, moving on to Node, and then being able to, again, create some concepts that were really on point, and that also you feel like you have a genuine authorship in it, in the sense that you help guide where it ended up at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like through that conversation, we thought that like the synergies between, Mike and I were kind of on the B2B side, right? Like Hatch2 is a, working business consultancy. We have working clients. We're trying to build a solution specifically for our designers to be more efficient. And seeing Antonio with, what he's done on the education side of bringing Gravity Sketch and things of that nature to the education side to increase their tool set so that by the time they're in industry, they're able to use these cutting edge technology software tools. And I was like, man, that's like a perfect marriage, because you have the business side, like business application, you have the source of like all the young talent of like what they're going to learn, right? And so I think that was like from a business use case, from a problem in terms of consolidating tools where, like you said, right now, a lot of AI tools, yes, they can do aspects of, generative images, but it's like in terms of having that correlation, like as a designer, right, to go from inspiration and having those ingredients influence the actual, branded result, like there's still kind of a disconnect there. So that's kind of like how we ended up connecting with each other. And then obviously, you brought in the wizard, Ray, and we were just amazed with like what he was doing on the programming side and prototyping side. So, fast forward to now, Mood, Node, Flow, like we're FLO AI now. We've kind of like rebranded that, but the products themselves have over 3,500 at current 3,500 signups as we speak, and so we're pretty proud of that. I'm going to start this question with, what are some memorable and interesting turning points and moments within this startup process? So this is more about like being a founder, right? And I can maybe touch on some key points that you guys can elaborate on. One I could assume would be that we're completely bootstrapped. Right? We've been on the funding, the funding route of pitching, but also we received some funding too. Yeah. And so maybe can you guys talk about, what that journey's been like, and even, just like where we're at today?
Yeah. So I think, one of the challenges as a founder is that, you definitely have a strong vision for, the things that you're building. But, communicating that vision and finding alignment with investors that are just as interested in that field and in making an impact in that field. I think sometimes that can be the challenging part, because obviously, investors are looking to get a great return on their investment. And so I think a lot of times, companies are kind of asked to like, well, how can we scale this even higher? Like what other fields, what other stones are we leaving unturned, right? And the thing is, as a founder, you have to understand, okay, what is your core mission with this product or entity, or, in our case, this company that we're building, and make sure that we're staying true to that. So we want to bring investors on board that have alignment with that vision, that understand what we're trying to create. So then that way we know that together we can grow and reap the benefits of that collaboration without necessarily having to change who we are or having to adapt to maybe a market fit that, may be larger, but it may not actually, be the tool that we wanted it to be when we created this. So for us, I think really understanding what's your market fit, where are you trying to make your impact, and really staying focused on that. So that way, if there is adjacent fields that you can definitely, see your tool being used in, of course, we're going to take advantage of those opportunities, right? But the idea is that not to try to spread yourself out so thin that you're trying to cover everything, and then you end up creating something that no one really likes. And so for us, I think that's kind of been the biggest challenge. And again, we are bootstrapped, and that's because, again, the co-founders, all of the founders, we really strongly believe in what we're doing here, so much so that we're willing to put our own capital into this project and see it through.
Yeah. And I think like, being completely bootstrapped too, it's like, you're on the fundraising path, you're thinking you're going to raise money, and then by raising money, then all of a sudden these users will come on board. like just this morning we were kind of panicking because we have close to like 4,000 signups right now. We're still bootstrapped. We have all these issues, and then the whole site went down for some technical issues, right? And so, you know, when we first started, we probably were like, that it wouldn't matter. Like now it's like there's 4,000 people pinging us, asking us about, hey, like, why is it not working? You know, and they're in their university classes or they're at work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny you say that because I mean I even got some messages where it's like I have to do it the old way now. It's just hilarious. That's like if that's not like market fit or like product validation, I don't know what it is. You know, and so when I heard that, I was like, all right, you know, we need to double down on our efforts here, and you know, thankfully we were able to get the site back up today.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and again, and I think for us as a team, the fact that we got all those messages was really validating because if no one would have noticed we were down, it's like that would have been a little bit sad. But the fact that, you know, we were getting prompted to, hey, it's not working, I have to do this the old way. When are you going to be back up?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we're getting messages, you know, asking us what's going on, and you know, obviously we want to be transparent with our users too. You know, we were sending out updates, letting everyone know that we're back on, and you know, sorry for the inconvenience and they have costs and you having to go back to the old way.
Yeah. And credits to Ray for staying up till like 2 a.m. trying to resolve all of the spicy issues. So
Totally. No, and I wanted to mention, like, you know, regarding the, you know, bootstrapping, you know, the like, hey, whatever we're building, we're like, we got to pay for it ourselves. We got to build it ourselves, right? It's either time or money, right? And either way, it's a huge investment. And I got to make the note here, you know, both John and I think can relate on this level, because, you know, when as all this stuff is growing and like this hype and excitement just keeps getting bigger. My son was born, you know, in July, you know, not that long ago, right? Yep. So it's this very, let's just say, memorable or like core like aspect of my life, you know, both on the founder side and being a new father. But you know, it just goes to show, like, for myself and for, you know, the people I work with, that, you know, I do believe in this future, in this project. And you know, of course family comes first, right? But at the same time, this is something that I want to carry into the future. You know, I want to be able to show my son, you know, hey, look at this thing I've built, and look at all the lessons that we can learn from this. But it's one of those things where, you know, as a founder, you have to just really believe in your idea and believe in the technology is going to get better, and how it's going to get better. Because from a technical standpoint, from where I'm standing, you know, things get obsolete every single day. I mean, like, the iPhone you carry in your pocket is outdated by a year or two, right? So it's absolutely critical to not just build the future 20 years and then come back, but like to create these products that we're building in a way that stays like evergreen, in a way that solves the human problems, not necessarily the technology problems. And so that's a little bit harder to do, to wrap your head around, right? You know, as I was talking to Antonio about these ideas at the very beginning of all this, you know, I was telling my wife the other day, I feel like the salesman in me sometimes, you know, you're optimistic. I think most entrepreneurs could probably relate to this. Like, you're optimistic, you know, you can do it, like you're going to put in the work. And then sometimes you happen to convince the people around you, and now you got to put up, you know, you got to bring your side of the bargain, right?
Right.
And so it just kind of goes to show that if you build something, if you come up with a good idea and people follow, like, there's a responsibility to that. And in a sense, you know, once people believe in these ideas, I mean, what we have with the mood board and people texting us about, hey, like, we need this, it's like slowing my day down. I'm not used to doing this the old way anymore. You know, it really goes to show how much impact you really have at the end of the day.
So on that topic of impact, obviously you guys have been getting, all of us have been getting feedback from the community, the design community in particular. What, you know, maybe you guys can kind of talk about what that feedback has been, positive or negative, and how that has influenced the development of FLO AI.
Sure. Ray, you want to start this one?
Yeah. No, I was hoping I could start with this one. So this one's fun. It's a fun one for me. So when I was going to Academy of Art, you know, I'm going in as a tech guy first, right? So, you know, some of my professors, and rightly so, they're like, hey, you know, you just got to put in the work. You just got to do the sketching, right? Like, there's no substitute for that. And I'm over here with my keyboard, right? But the rest of the industry is like this too. And so there was a little bit of resistance, I mean, both on a personal level and then the industry too, on some of these tools and how they impact the workflow, right? And so for me as a individual, I need to like see that there's other perspectives and different ways of doing things, and especially as we're building a product. It was fortunate for me that I got a lot of feedback really quick, and some of it great, some of it not so great. But the one not so great actually made for some great conversations. And so I had at the very beginning of this some people that were very optimistic about the technology and wanted to see more about it. People from Toyota, Rolls-Royce, Rivian, like company designers from companies that I would have loved to have an opportunity to talk to, before any of this. And so I felt just very fortunate as I was posting some of this stuff on social media that they were interested in knowing what my workflow is. Now at this stage, mind you, I was in like year, like 1.5 to 2 year into my industrial design bachelor's, right? So I'm not really feeling like, oh yeah, like I have my whole portfolio ready and like everything's like tight and perfect so that people are talking to me. No, like I'm still building up my skills as I'm going. So to me, that was hugely validating that some of what I was doing was in the right direction, and that served me as partly inspiration for what we're building now. That so early on we got so much interest. But on the other side of the impact too, it's like, well, we had some people that were very much against anyone using these tools because of how much creativity versus how much structure like does a design process need to have. Like that's not always a hard-coded, like everybody is agreeing on idea. And so there's one person in particular who we had gotten into not an argument, not even a debate, but just like a discussion about what it means to have good design and how much of your soul you put into it and how much of it is a machine or how much of it is rendering. And at the very beginning of the conversation, I mean, he was very much against just the principle of it all, right? But then, as we continue talking and, he's educating me about some stuff that he does, and I'm educating him about some of the stuff that we do and how it works and all that stuff. He then, maybe 8 months later, maybe 6 to 8 months later, he messages me on Instagram saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know, thank you for everything that you taught me. Because of the stuff that you showed me, the workflow stuff that you showed me how to use these tools, and you really gave me a huge advantage because my design work was actually higher quality and I pushed the boundaries of where I was before, and my design got picked to go into manufacturing. Now these are vehicles we're talking about, so it's like no small feat. How many millions of dollars goes into manufacturing anything like that. And so to me, like, if you want to talk impact, that was the core. I mean, that was, what more validating do you want it? Can you ask for than that? That people who were on principle against some of these things really felt empowered and creatively supercharged to the point where their ideas actually were able to become reality. Like that to me, especially as I always see myself as a student first, was hugely validating for the stuff that we're doing and motivating for all the stuff that's coming in the future.
Yeah, it's been awesome too, like for me, because I track all the signups.
Yeah.
And so like obviously, we have some competitors. There's other design consultancies out there, but to see your competitors sign up, to see like these big name companies with their design teams signing up, I think that in itself, just seeing, one after the other, and it says like source referral, right? You start to just see that data feedback of like, oh, this thing's actually useful for people. And that's been really cool to see. Well, guys, we could talk about this for days. I know we do off camera, but man, it was so fun to have you guys here as guests on our show. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, is there anything you guys want to leave the audience with as a final note?
I think for me, again, this is a really good exercise, and I really thank you and the team, for welcoming us to the studio today. I think it's important to have a reflection point, right? And I think this has served as that, because a lot of the discussions, a lot of the conversations that we've been having, again, it reminds you of like, why are we doing this, right? And why are we putting so much time and effort and care into this? And again, I think the fact that we're having the conversations that show that we really are aligned in what we're trying to achieve here really, again, is invigorating and it's exciting to keep us moving forward. So for that, I hope you guys also find, our conversations insightful. And you're able to hopefully apply them to the projects that you're working on as well too. Again, the actual creative AI suite is the FLO.AI. And within that, you'll be able to find MOOED.AI And Node is something that we're looking to launch pretty soon here.
Awesome. Yep. So thank you everyone for joining us. Ray, Antonio, again, thanks so much. If you guys want to find these guys, we'll also put their handles, their social handles in the description as well, so you guys can follow along there. They post content and, sometimes little tidbits of usage of the tools. So feel free to follow along. And then on behalf of Hatch Duo as well, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And other than that, thanks for joining us.
Keep creating awesome, guys.
Yeah. Let's Hatch Awesome.
Yeah.